But what are some of the, somebody read the emotions about kidney. What are you laughing about, Pam? Her face? Oh, sorry. I'm all talking.
Escapism, fear, guilt, powerless, broken will, deep disappointment, demoralized, bad news, fight, deep exhaustion, survival, brutal, terror, lack confidence, want to run.
So does that fit in a particular situation?
Well, when I tell my kids no, I feel guilty.
There you go. The guilt was what stuck out
I
to
mean,
me.
it's.
Why do you feel guilty?
Because
there are something wrong. You don't have.
I know, and they're all
Everybody's different,
and
though.
they're all adults. Okay, all of my kids are adults.
It's just you wish you could
It's
help.
yeah.
They need help.
Right.
Yeah.
But everybody has different issues.
Sometimes you have to say no, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I totally agree with you, but I still feel guilty,
Right.
even
So-
though I will say no and I will stand my ground and walk away. But I still feel guilty as hell.
Okay, so let me just kind of imagine that you're massaging this person, right? Okay. So even if you don't pull in the mental emotional part, you're holding the muscle and then rubbing the meridian point. They don't know anything at this point, right? Unless you want to involve them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if they're involved, like we can be with Tracy, I would go, so I was drawn to the upper trapezius after doing the rhomboid area, and then we got into guilt. Guilt was on the list. You can actually read the list to the person. You know, tension in this muscle can relate. This is how you do it, actually. Tension in this muscle can relate to, read the list and say, does any of this fit? If they go, yeah, then you can simply just address that. So we're going to tie it in with the daughter, though. So let's do this. Although I feel guilty
Although I feel guilty
when I say no to my children,
when I say no to my children,
I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to be okay.
So I'm going to be okay is acknowledging a positive after the negative. And we're not affirming this. It's not an affirmation.
And they're going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah. You can add that in too. Really, it's unlimited with how you do the affirmation. So let's say this. Although I have a hard time
Although I have a hard time
saying no to my children
saying no to my children
without feeling guilty,
without feeling guilty,
I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to be okay.
Although I burden myself,
Although I burden myself,
let's see, although I excessively burden
although I
myself
excessively burden myself
with my daughter's issues,
with my daughter's issues,
because I feel guilty saying no,
because I feel guilty saying no,
I'm going to be okay.
I'm going to
And if you ever get their head going, that's a good sign, right?
Okay,
Because she was like,
seems
yeah.
so mediocre to me.
The subconscious will.
Do what?
I'm going to be
Yes or no.
okay.
Well, see, I
Seems
see.
mediocre.
Right, and you can add whatever affirmation. I just started doing that one because everybody's pretty good with that one. Ultimately, you're supposed to say something like, I love myself. Which you'd be surprised at how many people can't say that. Seriously. And if they don't believe it, you're wasting your time. At least if you say, okay,
Yeah.
it's mediocre, but it's a step up, right?
It's something they can do.
They
Yeah.
they can understand it.
I know. The first time I did EFT, it was real hard for me to say I totally love and
Right,
accept
see?
myself now. It was like, oh, I totally
Would you say
I
something?
will consider being okay.
I totally like
Meridian
myself.
is for thyroid.
Oh, thyroid. Thyroid is the triple warmer, and that's your ring finger and right here. Okay. And the three fires are the adrenals, your thyroid, and your digestion. Both those things go together. And when they're out, your energy's right. That's why it's fire. Fire's all triple warmer right there.
Oh, okay.
Let me explain something on the sheet. The emotional sheet. The way I set this up is there's a yin and yang of both emotions, right? There's a yin and there's a yang. So the colored side, you see how it says on the top here, fire? If you look at the bigger category. And then here you see these two are earth. These two are metal. And these two are wood and these two are water. The colored one is the yin organ. Yeah, and then the white one, okay, is the yang. But they're both blue. I just did that so you can tell which one is yin or yang, okay? Yin, think about yin, the female holds the energy, and the yang is what uses the energy. So really, in a proper working system, the female holds the energy, nurtures the energy, builds the energy, and the masculine is the servant. That's how society's supposed to work, okay?
Like bees.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not exactly like bees.
So which one says yin and yang, the colored one?
The colored part of it, of the two, is the yin. The yin is the owner. The yin is the one that controls it, okay?
Yin is feminine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The yin organs, you are less likely to live without than with the like you can do without your gallbladder, right?
Right.
Can you live without your liver as easily? Hell no, right? So it tells you, if what carries the seed of life? Man or woman? What carries the seed of life? Woman.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute. It kind of depends on how you define
Well,
it.
there's the seed. Okay, the sperm is one thing. The seed is the female carries the seed. Okay, and it's the womb. It's that sacred thing inside, and that's supposed to be protected. But an interesting thing is that if you ball up into a ball, all the meridians that are inside the ball are feminine. All the meridians on the outside are masculine, telling us that the natural flow, the Tao of life, is the masculine is supposed to protect the feminine. Without female, life ceases to exist. I mean, I'm not going to pee out a baby, okay? We have to have the feminine. It's the most important thing. And sacred geometry, I got into sacred geometry and got all whacked out on these shapes and stuff, but basically what sacred geometry means is, what's the most sacred thing? Life, okay? Geometry, it's the shape of life. Actually, these shapes like this, the Kabbalah and things like that actually fit into this Merkaba. The cells in the body, when they first divide, they go to 2, to 4, to 6, to 8, okay? 8 is where it really starts to differentiate. This is the structure of 8 cells if you pointed at each one of them. You'd have 8 cells in this particular makeup, and it's the beginning of life. That's the sacred geometry. You don't need to study all these shapes. I mean, it was fun, tripping out on that and stuff, but when it comes down to the most important thing is life, and we're here to prolong it and protect it. And the man's role has a very particular role, and the female has a very particular role. So sometimes these solid colors may need to be addressed even if it shows up in, like, say, the gallbladder. Because who's the owner of the particular energy? The female, right? Okay. So if the gallbladder, which is rhomboid, is showing up, or liver, I'm sorry, the back of the neopopliteal is gallbladder. You may be needing to work on that muscle, but you may also need to do the liver too. Does that make sense? Okay, because the liver is the owner. The female carries the life. Okay, the female is the one that's supposed to be honored. And from that perspective, the Catholic religion had that part right. The feminine was the most important. Okay. So we'll leave that there right now. We can keep going with that, and you're just incorporating some of that into your massage. Does that make sense? But you're also going to know why that issue is there. Because here's the thing about massage. You can continually massage somebody's issue over and over, and if the underlying consciousness is not changed, if I don't change what's on my hard drive, what shows up on my screen, will it ever change for very long? No, hell no.
So how would you work somebody have thyroid? I mean, you said this ring figure, right?
Yeah.
How would you work on
So you're saying somebody has a thyroid issue? Then, okay, I'm trying to bridge all this together. Okay. So I can also say it's massaged. It all works together, just like you can't separate the physical from the metaphysical. So the thyroid also ties into the meridian system. It ties into the muscles. And the muscles that are going to be mostly affected by thyroid issues are going to be the gastroc muscles. They're in the bottom leg here, okay? It's going to be the triple heater. Anything related to adrenals. And a lot of it has to do with the lower leg energy. And then we also have the teres minor. That's going to be on the back of the shoulder blade. And
gluteus maximus?
The gluteus maximus, not so much. It's the partner. It's the partner of the triple heater, but it's not really the main thing. The gluteus maximus and people that have issues. We're jumping to legs. We're going to be going into this later. But typically when people have an issue opening their legs, which is all glutes and the inside of the legs, look at the muscles. It's all heart stuff, right? It's all emotional. Sometimes there can be sexual issues around that. So if there was sexual abuse, they're going to be armored up and they cannot move. And it ties in perfectly with the meridian system there. But going back to the thyroid, is you could go to each one of those muscles and see if any of those are tired. So here's the thing, is you can look at the body and have them tell you what's wrong, or you could use the body to diagnose. Okay? You could simply say if you're looking for a thyroid problem, go and check all the triple heater muscles and see which ones are really tired, and you would hold that point, hold the points.
Tired.
I'm sorry, tired, sore, tight, whatever, yeah. You would hold those points and then tap the triple heater point, okay? And it's here, it's this finger. It's the ring finger. The ring finger, nothing happens by accident. When we get married and put a ring on our finger, it's binding our passion. Our passion's in our thyroid, it's in our adrenals, and it's our digestion. So you would work this, you could actually work the entire finger too, okay? And you could do both sides. So that's another way of using it. Does that make sense? Or you could even go over the thyroid with energy work, hold one hand here, and then tap that point. It's kind of unlimited to what you play with. You can just kind of make it up. I make it up too.
While we're on legs,
Huh? Yeah.
while we're on legs, I see that you don't, at least I'm not seeing it. The IT band is not on here. Do you know what?
Oh, thank you, Mary. I'm sorry. What was that, Marsha, again?
I don't see the IT band on here. It's a small muscle, right?
Yeah, it is a small
Small
muscle.
muscle, but it's a long muscle.
Well, do
Yeah.
you know which?
The IT is colon. Yeah. You might want to write that down. And it's on the outside
Right
here.
on the very edge,
Yeah.
so it'd be hard to see on front and back view.
Yeah.
Do it on-
He just jumped off.
She's trying to get our attention.
Take a nap. So yeah, the IT band is colon, Marsha. And you know, one way that they actually treat it is you get like a rolling pin that you cook with. Very painful, but it releases it.
I do use it when I massage that.
Oh, you use the rolling pin? Yeah, there you go. Shelby will work it.
Yeah, you can.
You can with that, because that muscle, it's more tendon than anything, and it's so dense.
Specifically, my mom's knee was hurting. She won't let me touch her knee because she said I'm doing really deep massage.
Yeah.
So I said, Mom, why don't you do me a favor? She said, well, I said, get the rolling pin, put a little bit lotion and roll on.
Yeah.
And her knee feels a lot better.
Yep. Because, you know, knee, you
You
know,
can start with the easy and then go down.
exactly. And joint pain is usually the muscles leading to it, you know. You know, don't go digging in somebody's joints. That's, you could get into trouble that way. But that, yeah, that's perfect. I mean, rubbing that IT band with the roller is good. They also have these, I have this knobby foam roller that you can roll on, like on the floor, or you can use it on somebody. But that's usually,
Tennis ball on the floor, you know, where you put
Yeah.
the ball in
Yeah,
between
that's-
you and then you roll on.
yeah,
the ball.
that's extremely painful in that area. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard on more like.
Yeah, if you have a roller, it's
I've got a rolling pin, but I just thought that might
Well,
be an
this
easier
is
way
a-
to.
no, because a tennis ball goes to one point instead of this type of thing. Yeah, it'd be more painful. It'll release it, but for sure, yeah. Is that on the polio afflicted side or the other side? See, and that's, you know, you said how you just gave the posture where you lean this way.
That's right.
You're going right down on that. And here's the thing: is you're having to over control. The colon is all about control and restrict and, you know, hold everything. You're putting a lot of pressure on that part of your body. Okay, so that's, I give you kind of a quick overview of how you would work with that. I mean, there's still there's more tension, but it was starting to release, and you could keep going with that.
Yeah, it does.
So you literally find the point, hold the point, and then you tap it or rub it, okay? And then, or you can do with the emotions. If the person's open, you can talk about the emotions. To me, that moves so much more if you can get the person open. And I'm still learning to do that more and more myself. Sometimes I'm a little chicken, even with all, you know, I'm all blabbing to y'all. I'm blabbing to y'all because I know you're open. But if somebody's not completely open, I'm a little chicken shit sometimes. Yeah. But I'm working better at that, to the point where eventually it'll just be like, you know, this is what I do and that's it. But you got, because if you can incorporate the emotions and get them talking about it, because when you're tapping on certain things, which we really get into, you start getting this intuitive thing, and you can find out, you go deeper and deeper, and that person gets the aha. The aha is what reprograms the thing, right? The aha is like, that's what really shifts it. You know, that's when you have a, that's when it moves and then things change. So you can do it all blind. You can hold the point, tap it, rub it, and that will move it, and it'll move it a lot more than just, you know, trying to strong arm it. But ultimately, if you can work with the emotions, which is trying to get all the sides of the Rubik's Cube solved at once. Because you know, like Shelby's talking about, well, you shouldn't feel guilty, but everybody has different programs, right? Shelby may be like, yeah, she doesn't have that particular, for lack of a better
I
word.
don't feel guilty, but I tell them that what is.
Yeah. But I know, but everybody's different, so that may be a huge issue for her to the point that she would, you know, take on this pain instead of hurt somebody else. You know, that's a lot of where we get restricted, is we'll hurt ourselves before we hurt somebody else. And that's what it sounds like you've gotten into. Yeah.
And none of this really started until I actually started setting up my boundaries with her,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
And
Then there's
and
that.
now it's like this, you know, it's like, it was real hard for me to tell my kids, I am not available this weekend.
Yeah.
Unless your house is burned down or you're in the emergency room and you've lost a finger, don't call me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was very hard for me to tell them that. You know, because it's like, hey mom, can you, yeah, I'll be there in a second, you know, kind of thing. And so I really try to, you know what, you guys are, you're 23, you're 25, you can handle this,
Yeah.
it's okay.
One thing I want to go over on back pain, you can turn to this picture in your booklet. Anybody know what this muscle's called? The psoas? The psoas muscle. Okay, the psoas muscle all right, let's focus here on the psoas for a second. Okay? Okay, psoas muscle. Sometimes when people have back pain, it's not just the muscles on your back. So, does anybody here had any back pain that they filled in their chart? Okay. So, if you look at your chart, did you write it just on the back when you're filling out the pictures? Did you, or when you were talking about it, did you just talk about the low back? Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing about the psoas muscle and back pain. If you look at your color chart, it's going to be on the front. What is the psoas muscle associated with? Kidneys, yes. Okay. So it's going to be blue, right? Okay. What is low back pain sometimes associated with when a lot of people talk about it? Kidneys. Kidneys. The reason for that is the psoas muscle goes from the front here through to the back, and the kidneys actually touch it. Okay. So when they say that correlation between kidneys causing the back pain, it's that meridian and the muscle more than sometimes the back. Okay. What happens is this muscle can get tight with people. So what happens is you get this pressure, the tilting of the pelvis, and the back pain's coming more from the front than the back, really. Okay, they can't straighten up because it hurts like hell. So what color is that muscle? Blue. Okay. So what are some of the emotions associated with it? Oh, let me go over this. Let me go over this real quick. Okay. I was going to tell you the 5 basic emotions. Remember that big chart you had gets into certain spectrums, but there's one emotion for each meridian. Okay. Fire is sadness on the negative side. Fire goes into earth. You might want to write this down. Fire is sadness. This shortcuts because you don't have to use the big sheet all the time. You can just go to the main emotion. Okay. So fire is the first element. That is sadness. Then fire goes into earth. Earth is worry, anxiety, things like that. Worry's the main thing, though.
So worry?
Do what?
Did you say worry?
Worry.
But what, is green earth the color I mean associated?
No, it's yellow. I'll do it here. So we have fire, earth, metal, water, wood. That's going to be too small.
You need a big old wide one.
I can't see it.
I can see it, but
You see a
just,
line.
I mean, I can see the impression, but it's not going to be clear.
I'll do it out. We'll add some color.
John's gonna play.
Break out the crayon.
So, and I'll do it as we go along. So fire. Color is red, right? Sad. The negative aspect. orange or yellow. It's basically the color of dirt is what it's supposed to be, okay? That is worry.
So that's yellow, right?
Yeah, yellow, orangish color.
Yellow, orange.
On the color chart, it's the yellow.
Yeah, it's yellow. They use yellow, orange. It's going to be in that spectrum. The metal, or air, is in the black, gray, or white. Of course, white's hard to write that way. And that is grief. You know, when somebody passes away in the funeral, people are crying.
Now we wear black.
Black, yeah. Good call on that. But you know, when they're crying so hard that they can barely breathe, lungs is related to that particular area. That goes into water. Water is fear.
So bladder issues have a lot to do with the fear.
Yes.
Bladder and kidney.
Kidney.
Bladder, kidney are all, so that's why I was going with this whole, the support with the back issue. If it's a psoas issue, then there's some spectrum of fear around something. Fear of not being supported, that's low back issues. You know, and it's multifaceted. Wood is green, and that is everybody's favorite, anger. Actually, the least favorite of mine, and I think most people's, is sadness. You know, that's why when we get sad, we go, ugh! It's easier to jump into anger and deal with something, right? And then on top of this, and this is going to, I don't want to confuse you too much, but there is a controlling cycle and there is a feeding cycle in the emotions. And this is a yin and a yang right here.
Yeah, they're basically.
Black, red.
They're the most yin and
And like what Stephen's saying, there are certain of these within this you've got a yin and a yang, right? Right? Tell me why. Tell me why there's a yin and a yang within each one of these. I said, is there any, yeah? Okay.
It's a female, you've got the energies. The
You
energies
have to have
are
a male
one
and female
out,
side
one-
to balance it.
Exactly. So in the earth element, what two do I have? No, not the emotion. We're going back to the organ,
Oh,
In earth, you have
stomach, and spleen, right? One is yin, one is yang, right? Within grief, you have lungs and you have large intestine. One is yin, one is yang. So each one of these is yin and yang, okay? Everything breaks down basically to yin and a yang. All the time, every time, okay? So you can look at this whole entire thing as one universal yin and yang of all these 5 different energies working within one another, creating life and sustaining it, controlling it, okay? When we get ill, we are out of balance with these particular flows, okay? Sometimes it may be on a yin side, sometimes a yang side, sometimes maybe relating to this, sometimes relating to this, okay? So whenever we were working with, to take it even deeper, which I'm almost reluctant to do, to not confuse you, but when we were doing tracing, remember the rhomboid muscle was this, right? What were the other muscle related that we pointed out? Okay, which organ? Which organ?
oh.
Spleen. So what is this relationship between here, right? See this relationship between the two, this arrow? Okay, I have to go over this now. So, it's going to be best, well, Jeannie did a great job of drawing a picture. Can you draw a picture like this? Or have some of you done that? Okay. The outside circle is called co-cycle. It's a feeding cycle. It's mother to child.
This would be great to have this laminated.
Okay. Next week, maybe.
Yeah, you do have a sheet on it.
I do have a sheet on it, yeah.
I really don't get that part. Co, the feeding mother.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be CO as in like commingle.
No.
No, it's
Co.
co as in
So-
the word co.
It's KO.
It's just co-cycle. That's one thing, Joey. The second thing is I'm going to show you, okay? Forget the star in the center, okay? The co-cycle is the outside cycle, okay? You know when they go out and they burn crops, they burn the earth to feed it, right? Okay? Earth is where you find minerals. Minerals perspire, metal perspires, creates water. Water does what to wood? Feeds it. Wood does what to fire? Feeds it, right? That's mother, child, mother, child, mother, child. That is actually a yang cycle. It's getting bigger and bigger, okay? But within our universe, the yin and yang always has to be balanced. You can't just have yang, because that's crazy. And you can't just have yin, that's just as crazy. There cannot be a completely matriarchal cycle, and there cannot be a completely patriarchal cycle. It would neither one of them work. You know, we just kind of swing between the pendulum. You've got to find a balance between the two. So, that's the feeding cycle. Each one of these are feeding the other. Does that make sense? Okay, the inside cycle is the, did I do that right?
You said it was yang.
Yeah, that's right. It's the yang.
Okay.
I might have gotten that backwards, though. I didn't expect to go with this. But there's an inside cycle. I did go with that backwards. Sorry. The Shin cycle is the growing cycle. Ko is like control. Shin is the outside. Sorry about that. Okay?
So Shin is masculine because it's the outside.
Yeah, no, it's just growing, expanding. It's like the universe, right? All the stars are going out from the center of our galaxy. But there is a black hole, black being yin, right? That's the pulling things in. That is the star structure. So if I had a huge sphere, okay, and I kept expanding it without an inside structure, what eventually happens to this globe that's expanding? It begins to lose its structure. You've got to have the inside solid structure. What organs are solid? The yin, the female, is solid, okay? It's the solid ground that we stand on. What are we standing on here? What's this called? What are we on? Mother Earth, exactly, okay? So, on the inside controlling cycle, what does water do to fire? What does fire do to metal? What does metal do to wood? Huh?
Cuts it.
Cuts it. Thank you. What does wood do to earth? Think about your front yard. Huh?
It holds on to it.
Yeah, it holds on to it. It grows roots. If you don't have grass in your front yard, what happens to your front yard? It's gone, right? Earth does what to water? It dams it. It dams it. It stops it, right? Okay? That's the cycle, okay? So with Tracy, she had this anger. I'm trying to tell you all this to bring you to a certain thing, okay? She had two muscles that were relating to one another. I'm trying to show you a deeper meaning here. Is the anger, irritation related to the daughter and her trying to find balance is like too much is going into the earth and then like roots. It's grabbing a hole, okay? Moving, interfering with that movement in both muscle groups. Does that make sense? Okay. That maybe is too much right now, but it gives you a deeper understanding. We can go over that. We'll keep going over this stuff in layers, okay? But that's important there. Now, okay, in my video, I've got to do something. I've got to pull. Yes, go ahead, Jeannie.
What were you going to say about actually a treatment for the psoas while you still have it up? What it has to do with the back? What would you actually do? Anything to that psoas?
Okay, let me come back to that 1 second.
Because it was already. Would you do anything to it? Actually.
I'm getting this picture so I can just do my YouTube without them going, what the hell is he talking about? Okay, so this should be on my video. Here you've got, see how they're flowing into one another? And then the inside is the controlling cycle, and we're to find balance in the center. That's what life's about. Actually, my definition of God is perfect balance, 5 elements.
Perfect balance, five what?
The 5 elements perfectly balanced. The earth is in just the right place for life to happen, right? If we go too far one way or too far the other way, life ceases to be, right? Or it changes dramatically. If we went into like a dark age of ice, life would extremely change it, right? Yeah. We would be out of balance with that. Life may keep going, but it's going to be greatly altered. So life, the expansion and the feeding of it and the sustaining of it is when all the elements are perfectly balanced. There's things we have to eat, there's things we have to drink, there's actions we need to take. All that has to happen for the body to be in perfect balance, okay? All those things have to happen. And I can email you that picture there if you want.
Can you repeat that about what you said about God? Make sure I got it right. 5 elements.
Oh gosh, this channel.
Balance. Did you say?
5 elements.
5 elements are perfectly balanced.
Yeah, they say that they say God created the earth in 7 days. Of course, you could also look at a day in God's life being 1,000 years. So you can say 7,000 years it took for earth to be created. And it was all about the elements dancing with one another and coming to a certain point, right? So literally, I look at God, what sustains life, as these being completely balanced, okay? That's just one aspect. That's not all I think God is, but there's a huge part to these being completely balanced, because we have these within ourselves. And in Chinese medicine, these are called elements, but really they're movements of energy. They're particular movements. Anger has a very specific movement, right? Sadness has a very particular movement. And let me pull this back up one second. We go through these cycles in a year, okay? This is if you look at this about, my heart is sitting here beating so many seconds, right? Okay? You look at the earth, let me bring in the heartbeat to this. Okay. Fire, is it expansive or is it like tight? Expansive, right? Fire is huge expansion, right? Summertime when we go out and play. Earth is like stillness. Then metal is starting to be very dense, right? Okay, it's contracting. Metal moves into water. Water is the most dense element out of all these. Water can cut metal. You can't crush water in a machine, you'll blow the machine up. You can crush metal. Water is the most dense element. Then we go into wood, which is springtime. It starts to open up. You see green things come back in, and then summer like this. So in 1 year, that's 1 heartbeat of the earth, okay? We're going through this cycle all the time rapidly, okay? But in 1 earth year, that's 1 heartbeat. That's why I say like God's time period is even bigger than that, right? So what's a day to God? So think about it. 1 year is 1 day, or 1 second really to the earth. So imagine what God is like. So these things are happening within us. Contraction, expansion, and what happens is there's got to be a balance there. If we get stuck somewhere in contraction or in expansion, we're out of balance. Something starts to happen. So Tracy started to get a contraction, okay, in her meridian, in her energy, and it needs to have some expansion come in. So you can go in there and massage it, get the energy expanding and going. So there's ways to address that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. How to address the psoas muscle. Okay, with trying to stay with what I'm teaching, there are lots of little stretches you can do with the psoas. And since I'm doing this on a video and I'm limited to what I can show people, I would stick with what I've been showing you with the meridians and tapping, okay? So what meridian again is the psoas muscle? Kidney, okay? And the psoas muscle is pretty hard to work because it gets underneath the abs, it goes through the intestines, it's very, very deep. Actually, the only thing that really gets to the psoas is stretching, okay? Or you can access it by going to the upper part of your hip area. This is where the hip is right there, and you have access to it. See this little ligament here? That's that crease in your growing area, okay? So the muscle's right there. It's on that upper part of the leg. You can hold it, okay? So with going in step with what I'm talking about, you would hold that muscle wherever they're tight, and then you would rub the kidney points, okay? All right? If you want to add a massage technique into that.
That's right where the bend is.
Yeah, right below the bend. The psoas is right here. If you're right in the bend, you're hitting that ligament. You want to go just below it, okay?
Well, this is that area that I've been telling about with that
Yeah.
patient. You know,
We got 2 hits on her, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
A really good stretch is imagine I'm laying on a table. You take me to the edge of the table, and the really good stretch for a psoas is you drop that leg off. That's the best stretch for a psoas, okay? And huh? Yeah, you're taking the leg back behind them. Other than that, it's very hard muscle to work because you got to go through all that area. It's a very guarded area, okay?
So could you maybe lay on the edge of your bed and just let gravity pull your leg after you break your leg?
My psoas don't work. Yeah, you can let gravity
Just
do
let
that.
gravity pull your leg down?
And the cool thing about a massage table is higher.
Right.
In a bed, you're only going to be able to drop so far. And you can, if you're working it, you're holding that muscle and pushing down, and you can see how it goes further and further down. So to me, stretching is probably one of the best techniques out there for massage therapists on top of anything else. Because you can be hammering into something, and stretching is putting more blood flow, more chi, everything back into the muscle. Yeah, it's opening it.
That's why yoga is so good for us.
Oh yeah, I mean I could give you a whole talk on why yoga is good, because yoga is moving the fascia, and all the meridians are associated with lymphatic flow. So once you start moving the body and stretching, you're moving chi. And if all health is when one of these energies gets distorted or cut off completely, then you get the energy flowing, then health happens. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question, Jeannie?
Yes, you said that the kidneys actually go, the psoas touches it, is it?
Yeah, the kidneys are right, just in this area here.
Any reason to put your hand back behind and do them?
You could do that, see, but this, if you turn your sheet over, turn your muscle sheet over onto the back, you've got all these dense, again, the psoas is very, very guarded. You're not really going to get to it here. Okay, the only way to get to a psoas is going in the front. And the thing about that is the higher you go, this is going deeper and deeper. So now, once you get to this area, you're underneath all the ab muscles, which are, which are very dense. And so psoas is really hard to work other than a stretch. But you can play with hitting at the head of it, and then focusing on tapping that meridian, the kidney meridian out. And then add in the other stuff that you do, too. This is
one you can do, at least for massage, and you may already do this one, but where you actually have them lying on the table and you're completely flat, and you have them elevate their leg.
Yeah.
And then once they release, you'll feel the muscle pop up. And then drop it. And I think that's probably the only way I've seen that you can get to it as far as muscle technique.
And then that's a very good technique that Carla shared, is that will make it pop out for you. Okay, as soon as they do that, that can tell you, if you put your hand there and it moves, you go, oh, then you hold that area, and then you can do the tapping. Yeah. Or take it, stretch it the other way too. And by how you stretch it, I would just put my palm on it and then push the knee down gently on it. Again, I didn't have it. Maybe I'll bring a table out next weekend to show some of that stuff. Okay, did I cover? Oh, I want to go over the spine real quick. I totally forgot that I put the spine in here. The spine has lots of correlations in the body. You know in your house how you have a circuit breaker, right? Your spine is literally the circuit breaker in your house, in your body. Okay, look at the correlation. Here's you got these little switches, and we turn electricity off and on. These wires go to where in your house? All the different appliances. So here, if you look at your spine, all the different appliances are your liver, your gallbladder, right? So, and a subluxation on a spine, on this spine here, you can see. Oh, I totally wired him in good. It's hard to see, right? On the spine, you actually have these little vertebrae parts that stick out. Literally, and when you get a subluxation, what happens is those vertebrae will turn to one side. Literally, just how you would turn the breaker off and on in your house, okay? Tell me, what blows... Okay, let me say this a different way. There's two ways that an organ or an appliance can be turned off in your house. What are the two ways? One is you go manually to this and flip it off or on. What's another way?
Turn off the circuit breaker.
If there's a surge.
Exactly. And what would that relate to in what we're talking about the body? It's like over chi flow, right? Or misdirection of energy. So the organ itself will cause the vertebrae to go out. So you can go to a chiropractor and keep getting put back in place, back in place, back in place, back in place, but you may not be fixing the freaking problem. Just like in the wintertime, it's like, okay, my oven keeps blowing. In the wintertime, you got to go out there. It's a pain in the butt. Flip it, go back in, it blows again. That's a pain in the butt, right? Are you really fixing the problem in doing that? Yeah. Hell no. There's something underneath that. And underneath that is going to be the chi flow, the meridian flow, to that particular organ. And giving you the tools to actually start accessing that stuff to be more in charge of your own circuit breaker. So the spinal column is very important. Whoops. This picture here, the vertebrae and the nerve chart, that you have, the one I told you not to write on, this is a really handy one for you to have for yourself or someone else, because it tells you whenever a particular vertebrae keeps getting popped out in a particular area, it tells you what it may relate to. Does that make sense? Makes possible symptoms, and it's going to tell you the area that it relates to, which means you can start going to that particular area with the tapping points and the muscle, and via the muscles even at that, and start getting that back in line. Start fixing that appliance that's not working like it needs to. Does that make sense? You can go to the chiropractor, and chiropractors are excellent at what they do. But the thing is if they're not really fixing the burned out appliance, then you're going to have to keep going forever. And just because you go out, your kitchen blows a fuse, just because you go out to your circuit breaker and turn it back on, doesn't mean you fixed a thing. Okay? It may work for a while, just like going to the chiropractor works for a while, but you want to get the underlying issue. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, are you talking about tapping on these different vertebrae, or are you talking about the tapping of the other?
I'm talking about the C7, right? See how the thyroid gland is there? Shoulder issues. You could know. So C7, if somebody knows that they have a particular issue with C7, it's in the neck area, then they can go like Shobi was talking about the thyroid. You go to that thyroid point and tap on that while holding the vertebrae. You can tap the vertebrae too. The vertebrae being tapped helps too. It's unlimited to what you can play with and incorporate in it. And we're just going to be getting a bigger picture as we go along. And it is a big picture. It just gets, as you get little pieces of it, it starts to make more and more sense. So like with Tracy, she was right in this spectrum here. There's a struggle between these two things happening within her, and that's causing the different muscle groups not to work together properly. They're struggling. They're pulling on one another, and that's what's giving her a problem. But that's coming from something underneath, right? It's coming from the daughter issue. You clear that out, the screen argument disappears after the argument inside her mind.
And the other interesting thing is that your body's not going to, when you said, going back to hitting it up with putting it up like a house and having the appliances,
yeah.
Your body is wired to where it won't let any particular appliance stop working.
Right, yeah.
Like completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to reroute power through other meridian systems.
Very good point.
To keep that going. And if you don't fix that original meridian system, you're going to blow circuits on other things.
Exactly.
And eventually you will die from it.
Right,
Because
you will.
It can't reroute power all the time.
Right, just like there was a rerouting with what Tracy's got going on here, that long-standing pattern will then translate into liver or gallbladder or stomach spleen issues. And usually they all kind of go together. I mean, so you can look at this a different way. If you've got a stomach issue or a particular thyroid issue, you can go the opposite way. Okay, so it's really unlimited with the right amount of information how you can find and deal with different aspects of this.
So if we deal with the emotions, that would be working it from the other end.
Yeah.
You could work both ends.
Yeah, I recommend working both ends. I mean, you don't throw the physical body away, and it feels good to get a freaking massage sometimes. Sometimes it just feels good to relax the
Yeah.
Shelby's like, come to me. So it's really, it feels good to get that, and sometimes that's a balance. Getting a massage is very earthy because it's about being still, it's about being nurtured, it's about being fed. And you'll find that massage therapists are sometimes the worst at doing that because they're giving, and not so good at taking or getting, which is a pattern I'm continually working on, is being able to receive. And of course, whatever job you find yourself in, to me, is another reflection anyway. It's whatever career you're in, you're trying to learn the very thing that you're trying to do. It's your practice. Get it? Your practice is your practice. It's your life practice. And that goes for every one of us. Even if you're housewife, that's your practice.
This is really interesting because in my field, we were taught that the subluxations are not going to hold if they don't have all the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
The nutrients are like the glue. So if you're missing the vitamins and the minerals and the other nutrients that you need for that area of that body,
Right.
then, let me put it this way. If you have all the nutrients in there and you make a movement and you get that and your vertebrae goes out of place because
Right.
of the movement, a chiropractor would be able to get that back in place and it would hold
Stay,
within
right.
3 treatments.
Yeah.
But if you're the nutrition in that area,
Uh-huh.
then doesn't matter how many
Yeah.
adjustments you get, it'll never hold. So
Mhm.
whenever I assess a client or patient and tell them that, okay, you've got a need for both me and the chiropractor,
Right.
then I will have them on the therapeutic supplements that they need
Mm-hmm.
for 3 weeks, and then I'll tell them now, go make an appointment.
Yeah, now it'll
And make
hold.
an appointment,
Yeah.
and, you know, and,
Yeah.
yeah, 3 weeks from now, but get on these nutrients so that it'll hold that adjustment.
Right.
And if they try to tell you to come back for more than 3,
Mhm.
then just don't.
Yeah.
Because that's just, then we need to work on some other things, because that's not.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And this
It's
is really good, because it ties right in. This is another aspect of why they're not holding.
yeah, there's,
You got the nutrition and
you got to address all aspects. I keep going back to the whole Rubik's Cube thing. You solve one side, oh, that looks good, and you turn it, and all the other sides are screwed up. You haven't really solved the problem. Temporarily, yeah, and it feels good, it works. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But as far as lasting going and being able to help people at a in the distance between their complaint coming back, getting further and further apart, goes with dealing with all the issues, not just hitting whatever they're coming in with. If they've got a repeated pattern where, let's say, they're stuck in a relationship where they're carrying all the responsibility, and you continue to work on that shoulder, but the underlying issue hasn't changed, you've got a client forever. You've got a lifelong client, because you're just going to keep treating this, you're just treating the physical screen for the issue that's really going on, right? So why not move into a deeper spectrum where you're handling and getting a better movement and moving with that. Are you okay?
You're closing the pop-up window, you're not getting rid of the virus.
Yeah, pop-up window. Virus.
John.
Did everybody get that about the breaker box though?
Yeah.
I saw that one day. I was like, that's like totally cool, and I found the perfect 2 pictures. See how just like your vertebrae, how that has the two sets of nerves going out both sides. That's exactly what we have. We got a whole circuit breaker right here, and they're blowing themselves and doing all this all the time based on how we're feeling. And what pulls vertebrae out of place? Muscles. Muscles do that, right? So if you've got like a liver issue right there where the rhomboid set right between the shoulder blades, and you have a particular area that keeps going out, maybe it goes not just to that muscle. Maybe it's really the muscle's not really the culprit, but maybe it's the organ not operating properly. And maybe it's not the organ, but it's your mind that has a particular issue that you keep repeating, and you keep blowing your circuit. Does that make sense?
What are those 3 little on that chart?
Let's see.
Like where would L4, 5 be? Like what are those?
Oh, that's your testes, ovaries, and bladder.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty simple because you just follow the body down. You don't have to really if you hit a particular vertebrae area, it's going to be innervating whatever that line is. So if you did like a transverse slice, which means a slice through the body, wherever that vertebrae is, it's going to be interacting with whatever that's right there. Is it transverse? It's not sagittal, it's transverse. So you're cutting right through, and it's going to affect that particular area. Carla's looking at me like, I don't think that's the right word. Is it transverse? Thank you. Carla's right. No, did I say right? Transverse? Okay.
That wasn't,
Yes.
I'm paranoid. Okay. Any questions? Any? Yeah. Down. All right. So we went over quite a bit, and we jumped onto the legs for a while. But is what I'm going over making sense?
yeah.
Maybe a little too much.
Okay. I will.
Thank you.
I will laminate this for next week, and I'll laminate. Probably not this one here.
With all the wordage that goes with
Yeah. I want to put the words in there because this is just going to give you the basic. But you need to know like the feeding cycle,
right.
and that these relate to one another.
And how one affects the other all around.
You know, in paganism where they have the star as their main religion, that star is about the inside of those elements supposed to dance together. That's all that means, okay? And actually, that star actually goes back to Chinese medicine, which was prior to paganism. So the star is the representation in the pagan, when they worship that, the 5 elements. You usually see the star with the circle. That's exactly what they're looking at. They're looking at the 5 elements as being in proper balance. And basically, when your elements are in proper balance, you're thriving, right? When they're not working, it's like you're out of sync, okay? And it's always fluctuating because the yin and the yang, oops, I need somebody assistant. The yin and the yang are not solid at all, okay? And it's not a 2D thing, it's actually more in depth than that. So right now, we're moving in the nighttime, right? And the moon's there, right? In the morning, the sun comes out. If you look at the sun and close your eyes, you get that dark spot. So, and we reenact like the creation of, or not the creation, but probably the onward movement of, procession, thank you, of creation all the time. At nighttime, we go back into the womb. That's symbolized by going back into bed. And in the morning, we're resurrected. And the whole concept is that we can continually grow and change. We shouldn't have the same patterns that we had the day before. If we did, we haven't been doing our work, right? So that's a process for sure. All right. Any questions? Okay, I'm gonna close with a short meditation. I'm gonna first show you this little video that I found. Remember how I talked about last week about the heartbeat? I mentioned that in the meditation we did, like your heartbeat. And it was like, it just kind of came to me. I didn't have that preset. I didn't have any meditation in my mind of what I wanted to do. I just started talking. I was like, oh, I like that. So I've been playing with that. It's like, imagine this sea of chi all around you, and it penetrates you and goes through you. So whenever your heart beats, and your heart moves when it beats, right? Whenever your heart beats and moves, that vibration that's hitting that sea of chi is putting ripples into your reality, literally. And since there is a sea of chi that we're in right now, every one of us right now are connected in this room from the chi, right? So whatever I'm sending into this group with my heart is affecting the group just as much as everybody else, right? So I found these little clips, and I put them side by side to kind of give you an idea of what I want you to kind of think about, because I love visuals, and it's hard to kind of explain something completely. So on the left side is a fake heart in a jar, but you'll see it moving. And this is as big as I can make it because I'm recording this. And on the right side, they're using this metallic substance. And when they touch it with an iron, because it has to do with chemistry, when they touch it with iron, it begins to beat. Okay? But it's in fluid. So when it beats, you see the ripples that it's putting out. So I literally think that the heart being the center of the chakra system, when it beats, it's putting out a frequency into our reality. It's what feng shui is our reality. So this is just a visual, a short little visual to give you that idea. See the fluid around it, how it's all moving? And actually look how it starts to actually kind of go into sacred geometry. So think about your heart on the left side doing that in the sea of chi that surrounds us all, okay?
Well, the interesting thing is it's doing the star shape.
Right.
Which is the shape for the chakra.
Right, if you go fast enough, you can actually kind of see the Star of David when it goes fast enough. But yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So when we're doing the short little meditation that we'll end with, when you're focusing on your heart, imagine that beat that it has is going out beyond your body. That this energy that is inside of you is being connected to the heart. So let's do a short meditation to end. Oh, any questions about tonight? Anything? If you have anything, you have any questions, feel free to email me. For the massage therapist, you need to put your massage number on that sheet of paper. You can do it later. That's your information.
Does it need to have the 2 hours on there?
Huh?
Does it need to have that the session is 2 hours? I don't see that on the sheet. I was looking through it a while ago.
Shadow. Oops. Yeah, it does.
I was thinking it might need to, so
Um,
that it could know how many credit hours it gets.
the same one again?
Go now.
All about the blue hours.
Well, why not just look at the sheet? Oh, it is on there.
Where?
For the successful completion of 2 hours of neck, shoulder, and back.
We're expecting it to be around where the
Yeah,
money
but-
is.
Did I miss it?
And my question
Need
was,
to find her.
next week we're covering legs and feet.
We're gonna be.
Oh, okay.
We're still gonna be going. We're gonna be going over back a little bit more, and we're gonna bring in the chest and the torso. So we'll get into that, but probably the week after that will be more legs.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed the written out 2 hours.
I thought I did that. That's why I was like, what?
I know, if we can do something, we just forget about it.
Yeah, and that's why I was
Somebody
just.
questions it and you go, wait a minute. Did I? Didn't. Sure I did. Double.
So let's do what, Marion?
No, I just take the wheel away from Marcia.
So just close your eyes. You can put your feet flat on the floor if you want. Just find a comfortable position. Just close your eyes, focus inward. Again, the benefit of massage is to become more aware of your thoughts and your feelings. Nothing makes you more aware of how you're feeling and thinking when you try to shut your mind up. It's when everything wants to start talking. So as you focus inward, just breathing nice and calmly in and out, bring your attention to your heart space. Tuning into your heart, feeling it beat. Try to feel it beat in your chest. Just focusing on your heartbeat in the center of your chest. Letting all your thoughts drift away. If some thought is annoying you, you can just ask, is this a priority right now? Is this something I have to look at right now? Focusing on your heart. I want you to attune your heart into the feeling of love. And if that's hard for you to do, you can think about a loved one, a child, an animal, a sunset, some kind of trigger to help you get into that feeling of love, appreciation, acceptance. Just feel your heart as you tune into that feeling. And now imagine, like in that video, that your heart is setting in a vast sea of fluid, of energetic chi, prana, all the same stuff. Your heart is swimming in it. Just imagine that as your heart beats, as it moves in your chest, it causes a ripple within that sea of chi all around you. Be aware that whatever your mental or emotional state is,
at any given moment puts at a particular vibration. Whether that vibration is positive and productive or destructive and negative depends solely on where your mind and emotions are. The real estate of your heart. For now, you're just focusing on love, sending that out into your environment. So we're practicing so that as we live our life, we can come back to this space more and more consciously. Our spiritual practice shouldn't be something we set aside a time to do on a daily basis. It should be something that we actually live from. So little exercises like this should help us practice more in our daily life the very thing we're practicing right now. In other words, when your day, your week gets heavy, for you to have the consciousness and awareness to come back to your heart and change the frequency that you're putting out consciously, so that you consciously feng shui your body and your environment. No longer being the victim. Consciously sending love out into the sea of chi. If you want to, this is a good time. If you want to send love to a particular friend, healing energy or prayer to a friend, parent, family member, whoever you want to send healing energy and love to, take a moment now and do that. Send it through the feeling though, not with your words. Feel the love and imagine sending that vibration, that frequency, through the sea of chi to that person, even if they're on the other side of the planet. Focus on the feeling and the visual of the wave. Another thing to be aware of is what you send out from your heart space comes back to you. So it really does pay to be aware and consciously send out positive. Because what we do put out comes back. To sending love out through the sea of chi. Not forgetting to send yourself love, sending that vibration through all the cells of your body, the physical body. You know, we all take advantage of the physical body, but without it, we would not be here. We wouldn't be in this space. We wouldn't be in this physical experience without our body. It is the vessel for our spirit. And we mistreat it more than we treat it. We mistreat it by putting it in certain situations that doesn't belong, feeding and giving it things it doesn't need. So take a moment and undo some of that by sending love to your physical body, to yourself. If you've got a particular pain, send love to that area, that part of your body. Still holding love within your heart, sending it out into the sea of chi. Start bringing your attention back to your physical body, but also bring back the awareness of your heart and its beating at the same time. Like I said, we want to bring this practice into our daily practice, not just something we momentarily do once a week or once a day. The idea is to live it, not play at it. So becoming more and more aware of your physical body and your heart. When you're ready, you can slowly move your hands, arms, and take your time and open your eyes when you're ready. Any questions? Any last thing before we break? Well, thank y'all for coming out. And we will, thank you, Shelby. And we will continue going down the rabbit hole next week and go further and play with this more. I'll bring a massage table out next time and kind of put in some of the massage stretching that we can incorporate for those that want to do that. We won't have time to do a bunch of people, but if somebody has an issue, be sure and raise your hand because you'll be the one that gets practiced on. So everybody's all like, yeah. This means woo! So, well, thank y'all very much, and see you next Sunday. That's yours to keep.